Hi there, my name is Joseph Clough, and I'd like to welcome you to a podcast all about you and how you can change your mind and therefore your results in life. I hope you're doing absolutely brilliant today. In this topic, we'll be talking about beliefs, how we can utilize them, and also the lack of belief or lack of faith in achieving your goals and your dreams. Now, I've been incredibly busy recently because I've been launching this whole new program called Complete Life Mastery. It has over 70 hours, 70 hours of audio and video dedicated to getting mastery in every area of your life, from my videoed seminars, conferences, all my audio work, and my new programs, which are unavailable anywhere else other than this program. It's really, really exciting. It's released on a monthly level. That gives you adequate time to really install, apply, and utilize in your life with an appropriate amount of time till you get to the next stage. Life is always about learning to better yourself, learning to grow, and really evolving your mind and body to a way that really gives you more freedom on the inner world of you and also the outer world of you. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and visit my fan page on Facebook, which is facebook.com/Joseph's fan page, or twitter.com/Joseph Clough, or josephclough.com. I'll be releasing some really exciting news about this. It will be a limited offer for the time being because of just a number of restrictions, but I think you're going to really love this. I know I have, because it's been a long time my vision to give as much as possible in the most brilliant in quality and quantity, in a way that really gives you the adequate time to make changes, that ongoing process of just loving yourself, loving your life, and being the real you. So let's get to this podcast. This podcast is really about your beliefs, because your beliefs make up your world. Your beliefs about the world are different from pretty much everyone else's. You may have similar beliefs, but you will always see the world in a different way. If you don't believe you're good enough, you don't believe you're worthy, the world that you see will be one of less opportunities. So, for example, if you see the guy or girl that you really love to be with, but then you think, but I'm not good enough for them, or I'm not worthy, the chances are you're not going to go and approach that person. Same thing for a job, really. There could be a real wonderful job, your ideal job, and you, on the one hand, you think, well, I'd really love to do this. But there's a part of you going, but I just don't have the skills or capabilities, and I just don't think I'm worthy for it. I'm going to be found out by someone to be stupid or silly. Now, we know on a conscious level that shouldn't be true. But at an unconscious level, we take on these beliefs through our experiences. So if we've gone through a number of experiences in our life, and let's just say, for example, those experiences did not end very well, so we perceive to have failed in them. After a while, we're going to believe that we're not able to do something. Now, over time, that becomes a habit. It develops energy around it, like emotion around it, that gives you the lack of belief in yourself, or the lack of faith in yourself. So you may have big goals and dreams that you wish to go for, but maybe you've tried, but you haven't really got to where you want to be. That would be something that you lose faith in yourself, or you lose faith in achieving that dream. But what I want to let you know is that beliefs are constructs of your mind. There's no different from anyone else's ability to achieve something like that. If you have a dream and you really know you can do it logically, but for some reason you've given up, or you've had these experiences where you perceived yourself to have failed, then that's going to really get into way in evolving yourself or going for that dream or goal. So this podcast is really about that, how you can understand how the mind works. As I said, beliefs make up your world. So if you have a belief about something, whether it be positive, you're going to see the world in that way. Or if you have a lack of belief in something, or a lack of belief in yourself, more importantly, you're going to see the world like that too. But it's important to realize that those beliefs aren't true. They may be true for you, and I understand that, but they're not true. They're subjective. They're subjective depending on the person. It's a subjective viewpoint. It's a subjective belief formed by your past experience and your present thoughts, or thoughts even. So when we talk about lack of belief, or even a lack in faith in ourselves, the interesting thing is, if you have a lack of belief in yourself, you definitely have a belief. If you have a lack of faith in yourself, you definitely have faith, but in the lack of it, or in the lack of you. So you still have faith, but this energy is directed on the lack. So if you say, well, I don't have faith in achieving a goal, you do have faith, but you have the faith in not achieving it, on being unable to achieve it. So it's important to get back into reality, that the beliefs we have are all subjective. And it's important to understand our beliefs, because most of the time they're happening beneath the surface. Think about it like this, for example, where there's an iceberg in the sea. Now, when it comes to an iceberg, you only may see the tip of the surface. But beneath the surface, in that water, is this huge iceberg, and it's just bigger and strong, and it's really hard to break down. That's very much how the mind works. We're not always aware, we're not consciously aware of the things that we do. We may just know the tip of them, but beneath that is our unconscious processes, our belief systems. Now, one of the things I'd like to talk about, or to give you an idea of how to change, is firstly to be conscious of those beliefs. Many people are not. They go through life and they experience the lack of results, or they experience not feeling good about themselves or the situation, but they're not consciously aware of the strategy they're running in the mind. But when we become conscious of those beliefs, then we can start to understand them, see if they're really true or not, and to really begin to deconstruct them and really develop empowering beliefs. So the first step is to take time out and just really brainstorm the beliefs you have about yourself, or the beliefs you have about your dreams or your goals, because you may not be consciously aware of them. But when you make the unconscious conscious, we can then change it so we allow our conscious dreams and aspirations and wants to become unconscious. But you have to be aware of those beliefs. So take time out. Doodle a little bit. Write down some beliefs that you have and see if they make sense. So if you have a goal, what is the limiting belief about that? What is the lack of faith about it? What do you lack inside yourself? What belief do you have about yourself which makes that true for you? Because that's all it's doing. The belief in yourself makes it true for you, and that dictates your results. So really take time out to be aware of the beliefs that you run on the inside. Now, let's just say we have the belief of, let's just say it's going for a goal or a dream, where it be in our health, our relationships, our career, or just a personal dream. But let's just say, for example, we have the belief of not being good enough. Let's discuss that a little bit. So we have the belief of not being good enough to achieve a certain goal in our life. Let's see if we can make it a little bit more specific. Let's say that we've got a goal or a dream. I'm just thinking this at the top of my head, so bear with me. Let's just say we have a goal or a dream to be financially abundant, or to, let's make it a little bit more important actually, to maybe do the job we've always wanted, to start our own business, or to allow our passion to provide us the income that we need. But we think it's a big jump, or we don't think we can personally make it happen, and that means we can't have those financial abundance or aspirations. So let's take that belief that we're not able to achieve our dream job because we don't feel good enough or worthy to. We don't feel we have the adequate skills or ideas. Now, that belief is true because of a lack of knowing on a couple of things. So the lack of knowing of your own ability, the lack of knowing of the skills you can learn, what you need to learn, and also the lack of ability of how you can make it work, how the things you have to do, and maybe the lack of belief in yourself. So there's a few things there which you would want to understand about considering what beliefs you have about that situation. So you brainstorm, what are these beliefs? And then once we become aware of them, we write them down. And then we begin to, what I would call, reframe them. We want to loosen up that belief. So if we have the belief of not being good enough, well, that belief would be something we could change by even saying something simple like, well, you're pretty self-assured in that belief that you're not good enough, so you're pretty good at doing things like that. And that begins to change how the mind works a little bit. Well, actually, I am good enough. Or you could say, where else am I good enough? What other areas of my life where I am good enough? What's present there which I could utilize in this situation? And we want to understand, is this belief true? Is it true for me in reality? So if I have the belief I don't have the skills to do this, then in my mind, if you have the idea and dream to do something, I believe you have the skills to do it, but you're just not putting your attention to them. So what skills do you have in other areas of your life? So maybe it's when you're down the gym even, or maybe you're doing, you're with your friends, or other areas of your life where you do have skills. What's present in those which you could directly apply to this? We also want to understand is how this belief came about. Was it formed by a past experience? Was it formed last week? Or was it formed when we were very young? So if we formed a belief of not being good enough, maybe our parents had something to do, or maybe a situation at school when we were bullied, or maybe we tried to do something we didn't, and our body made a limiting decision that we're not good enough, and that's generalized itself into other areas of our life, and especially this one of wanting to do a job we've always wanted, to start our own business. So then we think, well, when did I formulate this belief? How old was I? Was it when I was in my 20s? Did I have all the knowledge and wisdom I needed in the 20s compared to what I do now as an adult? What about when I was 10, if it happened around when our teens, or 10 years old, did I really have the knowledge or wisdom to be able to make the adequate choices? No, of course we didn't. But we're maybe running that belief from that decision at a young age, which is interesting because that's not necessarily true. It may have been true back then, but with your knowledge and wisdom as an adult, that starts to reframe that belief by understanding the cause of that belief and then preserving learnings from that. When we preserve learnings about the past, we begin to undo limiting beliefs and decisions. So when we think of that belief, what can you learn, or what can you learn for yourself, for your future, and what is in the positive about that situation in the past? What can you learn from it? That starts to deconstruct the belief and put it back into reality. So rather distorting it, generalizing it, even deleting some aspects of what really happened there because that belief had a big impact, what can we learn from it? What can we do so we can take it from this state of generalization and distortion into a real reality in the appropriate context? Is it relevant to now? And the chances are it probably isn't, because back then, as I said, you were very young. Now, we've also got to consider that this belief that we have, the belief that we have is formulated in our mind. So when we think of that belief, what images do we have? How do you internally represent that belief? Is it through our pictures? Is it through sounds? Is it our internal dialogue? Is it a feeling? I'm sure it's going to be a mixture of all of it. So you begin to associate how you see that belief in your mind symbolically, because that's the unconscious part. So just become aware of how you symbolically recognize that belief. But then compare that to a belief which you know you're absolutely good enough for something. So it could be that you're absolutely good enough to get dressed in the morning. You're an expert at getting dressed. You've done it for so long, you just know how to do it. Or maybe you have a passion that you just know you're really amazing at it. You know you've got the knowledge. Or maybe it's what you do in your present job. You just know how it works and you know what to do. There's always something which we just know how to do it, no matter how small or big. Now, when you think of that belief, of just knowing you're good enough to do that thing, how do you see that in your mind? Through images, thoughts, and feelings. Now, notice the differences there. What if each day you began to see the limiting belief in the same way you see the belief of knowing you can do it? So changing the image so it's just like you can do it. Changing the thoughts for the internal dialogue of your voice so into the one where you just can do it. Changing the feelings of not feeling good enough, moving them over to the other image, just know you can do it. So we're really beginning to push that over and retrain up our mind to develop new associations. An association of a new belief ultimately, especially coupled up with those learnings, that's really going to empower you. So it's really about becoming more conscious of your beliefs, how they work, what they do, and maybe how they came about. Really getting clear on them, preserving the learnings from them, being aware that they were formed at a young age, getting them back into clarity. And that also means, is this belief really true? Where doesn't it apply? Where does it apply? Is it something which is really held up, or can we break that down by reframing it into another context? As well as that, so let's talk about that briefly. When you write down that belief, you want to be able to see where it's not true. Or you want to compare it to other things in your life. So if we don't feel we're good enough to start a job, you want to be able to really compare it to other thoughts you have. Kind of like thinking outside the box, seeing it objectively, and seeing where it doesn't necessarily apply. So we're getting the distortion back into clarity. And once again, we also said, changing your internal associations to that beliefs. Because when we do that, something very special happens. Well, the other thing we can do, by the way, is very simple affirmations. So continually telling yourself that you are worthy, that you are good enough. This over time really sinks deeply to the real depths of that metaphor of the iceberg. So we're starting at the tip, but we keep on saying it and it's sending it down and it's pushing it through and it's sending that communication around your neurology saying, I am worthy, I am good enough, I am capable, I've got all these learnings, I'm going to go for it. By repeating that, that's filtering down. But to really see how this model works, of how you can utilize those tips, is like this. A lot of the time, people try to change their behaviors. So rather working on the internal stuff or the higher context stuff, the real stuff, they just try to change behaviors. Or in fact, before then, they even try to change their environment. So if they've got anxiety or worry, they try to put themselves in an environment where they don't have anxiety. So they may leave their job to go for and settle for one where there is no anxiety or worry. So they will start to do that at first, but then people may even just start trying to change their behaviors. So they try to change how they do things, which is okay, but it's not extremely powerful. Because if you can imagine like a pyramid, at the bottom of that pyramid is the first layer of our environment. Above that is our behaviors. So people try to change their behaviors to change how they react in their environment, the lower level. But above that, above their behaviors, you'd have another layer on this pyramid of capabilities. So the capabilities that you have will dictate your behavior and then dictate how you act and react in your environment. So a lot of people go to that stage. But I want to go a little bit further with this, because above that is your beliefs and your values. So it's a higher level at the top of that pyramid. So when we start to change our beliefs and our higher values for life, we're going to start to change what we believe we're capable of. So if we have the belief and work on the beliefs of letting go of not being good enough, it then suddenly frees up our capabilities. But if we have the limiting belief there, we perceive a lack of capabilities, therefore a lack of good behaviors, therefore a bad environment or outcome, success or results. So when we begin to work on our beliefs and values, we really start to filter everything down from our capabilities, our behavior, and our environment. The other thing we've got to consider is our identity. Our identity is a real powerful one. I know we've been talking about beliefs, but they sink quite deeply into that. It's really about discovering who you are. Beliefs are generated through thoughts and experience. That's how they've come into this present moment. You come to this moment from your past, and that allows your thinking to be a certain way, and you believe a certain thing. But I want to break us down to even something more pure than that. Right down to our identity, where in the beginning, it sounds like the Bible there, in the beginning, but in the beginning you were whole, you were one, before any constructs, before any belief system was ever formed, before even language was formed. You were just one whole energy, full of potential. That is the core state I like to direct you to. The core state of potentiality, where you just are, when you just are amazing, you're just in the moment. And you just know that there is no limitation, you just are. You don't even have the construct of limitation, because everything is just whole and in alignment. But through experience, we can become conflicted. We develop limiting beliefs or beliefs around the world, behaviors, thoughts, feelings, emotions, internal associations with the outside world. But I want you to understand that identity part, like the tip of that pyramid, which really controls everything else and dictates everything else, is where I want you to go back to. That is the pure you. That is you who is absolutely perfect. You just know everything's okay. You just know you are loved. You just know you are unlimited in who you are. And you are, by the way. And that's always there. But it's beneath the surface. But we have to put our attention to it. Rather than putting our attention to the limiting beliefs or our present results, let's take our attention and direct our attention to the peace within us. Our attention to where everything is fine, where everything else is ultimately a construct, an illusion, a subjective viewpoint through past experience. In this place, we know that's not true. We know that it is an illusion to have beliefs like that. And when we break away from that and we start to reconnect with ourselves by becoming conscious, by doing those processes, we're literally decoding the illusion. We're lifting the veil to see our true self, seeing the kaleidoscope of beauty in ourselves and in life. So that's where I really want to take us back to really become aware of the beauty within us, the power within us, which is in all of us, to light up that illusionary darkness. Now, how we do that is simply, and I say simply, I mean, it is, you may not think it's simple. I mean, it takes time to do this, but it's a way of learning. Because you've got to remember as well, we were never taught this. Your parents were never taught this. So why would they tell you? Their parents were never taught that, so they didn't tell your parents. Your grandparents' parents didn't know this. Especially on a Western culture side of things, we just don't talk about this. It's not in schools, it's not around us unless we have got someone in our life who is like that, where we can get that learning. But it's really important to re-educate ourselves, to remember that you are perfect, that you have all the capabilities that you need, because they're already there. But it's about shifting our attention to them. It's about putting our focus to what is really important. When we begin to realize that we have that connection, that the beliefs we have are simple illusions formed and created through experience, that's all they are. To realize that we are connected at a deep level, that we are energy vibrating into form, and that everything around us is energy, and our thoughts are so powerful that they can make changes on a mind-body level and even on a bigger global level. Your energy and your outcome of who you are, how wonderful you are, how that beingness within you, the deep peace within you, which is always there, always present, but we tend to lose ourselves on the lower level of that environment or a behavior. It's time to now backtrack and remember who we are. And I think that's a really important key in deconstructing these limiting beliefs. Because as I said in the beginning, a lack of faith in yourself or a dream is simply just misplaced faith. It's like you have the faith, but it's just misplaced to not feeling you can achieve something. So the faith is there, it's just directed in the wrong way. A lack of belief in yourself means you have a belief in the lack of you. It's just a belief. It's not that you don't have belief in yourself as such, it's more that you have a belief in yourself. It's like it's very interesting to explain this, isn't it? So bear with me. So a lack of faith is misplaced faith. Faith is there, but it's being directed in the lack of. A lack of belief in yourself is simply a belief which is strong and it equals to a lack of what you can do, but the belief is still there, it's just misplaced. Misplaced in where it's meant to be, but by reconnecting to who you really are, putting your attention to it, and also, as I said, becoming aware of your thoughts and your beliefs, writing them down, allowing the unconscious to be conscious, then we can begin to see if they're really true, preserve the learnings from when they were formed, change our internal associations to that belief, and beginning to develop a new mantra, a new affirmation of the ideal belief, and more importantly, reconnecting with who you are, who is unlimited in resources, who is abundant of belief in who you are. So now let's begin to let go of that misplaced faith, or that misplaced belief, and reconnect to the real you. To move ourselves from our environment and our behavior to the core identity of you. When we begin to do that, everything does change. So I hope you enjoyed that message. It's always interesting to explain that because it is quite mind-blowing at times, but I'm sure you got a good idea about this. And if for more information about me, go ahead and visit my website, which is josephclough.com, facebook.com/Joseph's fanpage, and twitter.com/Joseph Clough. That's my name, isn't it? So twitter.com/Joseph Clough. And once again, for more information about my new mastery program, it's absolutely amazing. Go ahead and visit any one of those links. I'll be definitely talking about it because it is just the biggest thing I've ever done. It's got the most information I've ever given away. It's just complete mastery for you, and I really want you to be a part of that because I really want to work together. I've got a community on there, and we can really support ourselves. We can talk with each other. I can answer questions. You can help other people. So we're really one whole unit together, and we can really make a wonderful change in our lives and other people's lives, and on a bigger level as well. I really believe that. So I look forward to speaking to you soon. Have a great weekend, and many thanks, and goodbye.